Today I'm going to show you how to plant garlic. This is one of my favorite things to plant, and you can grow garlic too. Picked this garlic in July of 2020, and then I let it dry out. So I clipped off the top and I let it hang up on a line to dry, and now it's dried. So to get the cloves off, I'm going to break it. It's very strong, so I'm going to use all the strength I have. And we eat this bulbous part. So each one of these is called a clove, and they all have this papery skin on. And we're going to keep this papery skin on. And so I've already separated my cloves for the ones that I'm going to plant in this cup. So I have a cup full of garlic cloves, and I pick the very healthiest looking ones to plant. So they're fat, they're big, they're healthy. I can tell they're healthy by their color and their feel. They're not rotted. They're beautiful. These are called a hardy German white garlic.
I also failed to mention while I was taking this video that there are many different varieties of garlic. So you can get a soft neck or a hard neck variety of garlic. I find that the hard neck varieties perform better in our climate, and all that means is that they have a stiff stem that makes it more difficult to separate the clove from the stem.
I'm going to dig out a row with my tool here. And I'm going to use this side of my tool, and you could use this, you could do this with your hands, you could do this with just a little trowel. You don't need a fancy tool. All I'm going to do is I'm going to drag this through the soil, and I'm going to make a path to plant my garlic cloves.
But before I can dig my trench, I almost forgot, well, to pull the weeds. Weeding is a necessary part of gardening. It's not the most fun part, but it's absolutely critical to gardening success, especially when plants are young. So I'm going to pull out all the weeds. I'm using this to scuff up the surface, and then I'll pull out the roots.
So now it's all cleaned up, and I'm ready to make my little trenches. So I'll show you how that's done. I just take this and I'm going to make a row about 3 to 4 inches deep. About 3 to 4 inches deep. Okay, so I'm done making my trench, and I measured it using my farmer's measurement, which is, if you look at the tip of your thumb to where your thumb bends, that's just about an inch. So I measure 3 inches with my farmer measurement. You can see 1, 2, 3. So that's my 3-inch farmer measurement. And I'm going to take my garlic cloves and I'm going to space them out about 6 inches from one another. This is the root side, the flat side, and the pointy side is where the shoot comes up. So I'm going to just put them and line them in one next to the other, and I'll show you that once it's done. So before I put all my garlic cloves in the ground, I almost forgot a really critical step, and that is to add this bone meal here. Now, bone meal is a natural plant food that organic growers and gardeners use to help the plants grow. So it's a natural fertilizer, and it's just what it sounds like. It's ground up bones. So you can see it just looks like ground up bones. I use it every time I plant garlic because it makes my bulbs a little bit bigger, and it's a great source of phosphorus. And plants need phosphorus, they need nitrogen, and they need potassium. So this is a great source of phosphorus. It says the rate should be 10 pounds per 100 square feet, or for individual bulbs, 1 teaspoon of bone meal into the soil. So I cook a lot, I bake a lot. I kind of know what a teaspoon looks like if I held it in my hand. This is probably about a tablespoon, so I'm probably going to use about 4 tablespoons total in my 1 trench, 8-foot trench of garlic. Okay, so this is what the bone meal looked like in the trench. You can see the 2 bulbs I planted accidentally before I remembered. And all I'm going to do is I'm just going to turn this, I'm just going to rake it in a little, turn the soil just a little to mix it up, kind of like you're mixing up a cake mix. I'm just gonna mix it up. And you can kind of think of the soil like a cake mix. You want all the right, I'll just toss this in around the bulbs I planted. You want all the right ingredients in the soil to assure that you have the healthiest possible soil substrate for your plants to grow in. So adding things that build up the organic matter and also add nutrients into your soil is going to guarantee a better outcome for whatever you plant. And so this bone meal is a natural amendment that will feed my garlic bulbs. Okay, so I have all my garlic bulbs planted, and the last step is simply to cover them up. Well, I should say the second to last step. So I'm gonna cover up the whole row. So the whole row is covered. You can see where I pat it down just to make sure it's nice and snug. And the last step will be gathering some leaves. Once this whole bed is planted, I'm gonna plant this whole bed with garlic. And once it's all planted, I'm gonna put leaves on top because that will help insulate the garlic throughout the winter. So here we have it. The 5 rows of garlic have been planted, and you'll notice that I put a layer of leaf litter over the top, and this is both to insulate the garlic over the winter as well as provide the soil more nutrition, because we don't want bare soil. So bare soil looks like this. This is exposed to the elements and there's no nutrition being added to the soil, which means we're going to lose life in the soil. So leaves are abundant this time of year, so I try to crumple some of them up, and some of them that were actually used to cover the potatoes I just moved on over here. And it's a mix of garden scraps and just leaves that I raked up. So you'll see each row is marked out. Please do not touch it if you're in the garden. Just admire it and send it well wishes, and we'll see how much garlic we'll get next year. So there you have it. Garlic has been planted, and hopefully it'll grow just as well as it did last year. These garlic cloves grew in this garden before, so I'm gonna have faith that they're gonna grow again. And I'm gonna let the cold weather months treat the garlic in the way that it needs, because this plant needs to experience cold in order to grow properly. So that's a process called vernalization. And vernalization is just when a seed needs to experience cold in order to germinate.
I just wanted to mention that come spring, you will start to see these curlicues come out of your garlic plants. Now, these are actually the flower stems. The plant is producing a flower. We don't actually want the flower. We want the clove, the bulb. So we're going to snip these scapes off, and you can eat them. They have a very strong garlic flavor. I love garlic scape pesto. A really useful tip is to blanch or put your garlic scapes in hot water before you use them. Then when you get to harvest your garlic, it'll be very exciting, and you just have to twine it up and hang it in a cool, airy space where it's not going to get mold. So good luck. Let me know if you have any questions, and I hope you have fun.